Hi there, Phil Pendlebury here, and I hope you're having a super mega large day. And for viewers from the Middle East, Assalamu alaikum mahaba. Welcome back and welcome to another video introducing Nuendo from Steinberg. Today we're going to continue our getting to know you journey and do some basic sound design. So in the following video I picked some of my favourite features from Nuendo that I think you may find useful for sound design. There are some very advanced features available, but we'll save that for another tutorial. The features I want to show you today will enable you to get started quickly with sound design projects and show you how simple and easy it is to integrate Nuendo into your sound design workflow. I've already found a video that we can use that's royalty-free from Pexels and Pixabay, which is useful. It's a very short little video, and I've dragged it into an empty project in Nuendo. So let's have a look. The first thing we need to address is this big red error message across the video itself here. And that's because the frame rate of this video is at a different frame rate to my project. So we'll go and sort that out. And we see this quite a lot, and it's something that people don't realize can cause a lot of issues. So we go to project setup. Hopefully you can see that. I've got my project frame rate set at 24 frames per second. So all we need to do, get frame rate from video, and it's 25, which is good for me because that's the same as what we're recording in. So that's it. You can see there it's changed that value to 25 frames per second. Okay, and now all our little red messages have disappeared and we should be seeing everything smoothly. So like I said, what we're going to do here is basic stuff. So I've got a very short video. Let's just watch it. You can see a guy walking across, grabbing his bike, cycling off into the distance. Nice, very well shot. So what I'd like to show you first before we do anything else, I'm not even going to bring any sound in. I just want to introduce you to a very neat little feature, and it's called video follows edit mode. So let's just make a dummy audio track. There we are, and I'm just going to put a dummy data on it. Move the start point around. In fact, we'll turn snap off. And you can see, just as normal, nothing really happens when I move that around. Now, I'm not going to use key commands today. I'm going to show you stuff from the menu because that way you can actually see what I'm doing. So if we go to the transport menu, you'll find a command, use video follows edit mode. We'll select that. Now, watch what happens. You see the start point of this dummy audio part. When I move it across, it's actually moving the video as well. It's really handy because this way you can queue things up, you can find exact points on your video, and the audio will basically follow the video, or the video will follow the audio. So how does this work? Transport menu, as you've seen, and enables you to instantly see where video edits are taking place. It works by using the start point of the audio file. Now, because this is a dummy, I can't show you that right now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, you can see that while I'm moving this, it's not particularly smooth. You see how it's jerking around a little bit. But what I'm going to do is convert this video to a lower resolution. This little application really deserves a little bit of credit. It's written by a friend of mine called Saggy, and it's called Media ER Pro. And very simple, there's the video, which is the full 4K. We just drag it in, and off it goes. So it's now converted that to my specs, which the audio was not relevant, but I've forced the size to 720p. So we should now find that when we go back to Nuendo and replace this video, that it's a lot smoother. So I've replaced the video with the one that was converted by Media ER. Thank you, Saggy Gal. And as you can see now, as I slowly drag across, move this around, you can see it's so much smoother. You want to work at the best resolution that you possibly can. And your client might have sent you a full 4 or 5K video. But when you're working like on the sound design, for example, there's really no need to be using that full fine resolution. All it's going to do is drag your whole project to a crawl, make things difficult. So convert the video, make it small, or ask them to send you a low resolution version. And then when you're finished, you can swap it out or do whatever you do to render the two together. Okay, so we've touched briefly on video follows edit mode. I'm not going to go into super fine detail, but as you can see, super useful. Something that some people accidentally switch on, don't realize it's on, and then of course you've got a lot of problems, because when you start to play, there's all sorts of strange things that may happen. For example, if you press stop, you'll see that the cursor goes to the beginning of the actual part there. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is just watch through the piece again. So the guy comes walking in, he grabs his bike, he's got a bag on, there's some rattles, there's some all sorts of little things, and then he rides off in at the distance. So we're going to build it up in layers. We're going to start with the footsteps, because they're really kind of the most, I would say, probably monotonous part of putting the whole thing together, but they're also the base for lots of other things. So let's have a quick look. You'll see he walks across, grabs the bike, kicks the thing there, puts his foot on the pedal, and rides away. So, digital footsteps, sometimes referred to as digital Foley. Now, ideally, we've got a person with a big box and some shoes on, and he can walk around and copy exactly what that guy there is doing. We don't have the budget for that. So, what I'm going to do is do it digitally. There's a few ways of doing this. I'm going to show you how I do it. So, I've loaded up my MIDI footstep creator. It's a UVI workstation, and it's a little plugin called Walker that works with the workstation. As you can see, I'm triggering the steps with the two keys there. There's other keys as well that you can use to stop and start. And we can also, change some of the configuration. We're not going to go into super fine detail here, because there's really no need. So I'm going to pick what it says, and I'm going to go for trainers. Let's have a listen. See, they sound very, very... Okay, so we need to go wooden floor. It says concrete. Sounds very harsh, doesn't it, to be honest? But what we do is we'll get some steps in, and then we can start playing around and editing it. So there's a few ways to do this. With a video as small as this, as short as this, 2, 3, 4. What we sometimes do is we'll anticipate the first step. So I know that when I press play, 2, 3, 4, this is going to come in with 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'd be something like this. But then you can move things around, and this is where things start to get really clever. So let's just record what I just did. I played it in live. As I said, sometimes when you can see the feet really clearly, you might find that you just want to draw them in right from the start. You don't even want to attempt to play it live like I am doing. But of course, when you see somebody, for instance, running for 5 seconds, then yeah, you can really get into the rhythm. You can see what that person's rhythm is, and you can follow it. Right, so let me try that one more time, and I'll actually record it this time. So we'll close this down for now. Like I said, I know these footsteps are not actually perfect, the perfect sound for this particular video, but I want to show you just how to get them into the right place. So we've got left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. The scuffs, which we may use, are on the outside. So let's start with the first footstep. You can see his legs moving there. So we'll drag that, and this is the beauty, again, of video follows edit mode, because as I'm moving that note, the video itself is moving as well, which is just stunning. So he's hitting the ground round about there. We should probably put one in just off camera, but maybe, you know, we'll keep that quiet later on. So there's the first one. Second. So what I tend to do is I'll go backwards to the other one, and then I'll see his leg moving across. There we go. So second one, doom, there he goes, foot's down. Now what happens here? Yeah, he does kind of put his foot down, so we'll leave that roughly there. And then we'll bring this one, which is where his foot scuffs backwards. So we'll change that to a scuff. Let's have a quick listen. And then there's a little bit of scuffing around. Let's actually make that also scuffs. Trying to catch some of those noises. Yeah. Okay, so that's quite nice. So now we'll have a quick fiddle about with the actual sound itself. Yeah. And don't forget, we're only looking at the footsteps here. So it's tempting to say to yourself, well, look where he puts his foot on the pedal and, you know, other things. We're going to try and ignore them. Right, so I'm going to cycle around that for a minute or two. And let's just see if we can get that sounding a little bit less harsh. Okay, that's cool. So one of the things that you'll notice here is that you can't see his feet, which is a bit of a shame, but hey, there we go. So once we're done with the footsteps, we can move on to the next part, which for me would be some little incidental jingles and jangles from the bike. We can process this, we can render it in place quite easily. We've got the render in place dialog, and this will render that selection to an audio file. Now imagine if you've got 20, 30 or 100 of these all running across in various places. Render selection or render in place, it can be extremely useful. So at the moment I've got it set to dry, which means it'll just transfer the settings exactly as they were. The tail mode is off because we don't have a reverb. If there was a reverb there, or a long reverb should I say, then we might be tempted to add some seconds or bars, but there's no need. 64-bit float depth, which will give you the best quality. There are other options, but again, no need to go into that now. The file path should be the same as the audio folder of the project. And once it's finished, what we want to do is keep the source events. Actually, let's just mute them for now. So let's hit that and see what happens. So there you go, you can see we've now got a resulting audio file which we can now play with. For example, if we grab the beginning of the audio file, you can see we can drag it across like I was showing you earlier on. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring in some bicycle noises, and I've kind of taken some notes here. I just need a couple of little sounds when he's hitting the pedals, and I need the kind of pedaling away. So what I would use for that would be Soundly. However, Nuendo itself does come with a lot of built-in sounds which are accessible via the media bay. So I'll just quickly show you how that works. So we bring up the media bay. You're probably already familiar with the media bay, but basically you can use it to search and scan your entire library of sounds. Without further ado, I'm going to find some bicycle sounds from Soundly. I'm not going to show you all of this, but Soundly is really powerful and it actually integrates really well with Nuendo. You can find the sound that you like and then you can just click this button here and it'll send it directly to Nuendo, or you can select part of the sound and just drag it across. That's my preferred method. Not only that, you can also do various processes to the sound before you even move it. So some people like to work exclusively in mono, some people like to have things normalized in advance and so on. So yeah, that's Soundly. So I'm going to stop recording now. I'm going to drag in a few bits and then we'll get back to it. Okay, hope you're all still with me so far. So I've just dragged in 3 basic cycle effects to try and lay around here and see if we can get them to work. One thing I wanted to point out here, and again, you probably already know this, but then again, we are aiming this video at people who are starting off. Quite often you might find that you'll search for something, let's say bicycle, and you won't find what you're looking for. You might find a different sound that's completely something else, somebody dropping a box on the floor or falling over, that may well work for your purpose. So don't be afraid to try things, and of course don't be afraid to layer things up. Right, let's carry on. Not bad. So I've got some bike noises here. Have a quick listen to these. So I think one of those, maybe we can change the color here. Alt key, and let's make that a little bit of a different color so we can see it better. So there's a little scrape, which might be useful. So we'll cut that out. And I thought that this little bit might be useful for the kickstand. And then that little bit at the end there might be useful as well. So I'm going to start off with the scrape. We can zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So let's find the bit actually where he puts his foot on the kickstand and kicks it away. So there, I think roughly is the kickstand. Let's have a look. Right. So, okay, let's say we want to match up that little section there, even though it's not the perfect sound, to be quite honest. Let's say we want to match that up with when his foot hits the pedal. Well, that's tricky, isn't it? You can see, because this particular part, the bit that we want to match up with that actual action is further across. It's in the middle of the part. So how do we do that? 2 ways of doing this. How we used to do it was just to move the part across like that until you're at the part that you want. Then drag, 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 and that's where his foot hits the pedal. And then open it up again. But there's also another way, which involves using the sync point of the actual audio part. So how do we do that? Well, let's have a look. So we're going to adjust the snap point to be over this particular point here on this audio file. So first thing we need to do is open the audio file. So all we do is we grab, and you can even see that's reflected in the cursor. This is, again, one of the wonders of video follows edit mode. How did we ever manage without it? So you can see the cursor's moving with where I decide to put that point. So very, very useful if you really want to sync up a particular part of an audio file with a particular part of the video. So I've done that. So now I can use that sync point, bring back the video. So I've moved it way off, and I'm going to keep going until I see his foot hit the pedal. There. Round about there. Turn the volume down a little bit. That sounds okay. And any of you that do this, you will know very well that sometimes you drop on the sound super quickly. Sometimes you can spend 1 hour just looking for a tiny, tiny little noise. And of course, the same thing goes with music when you're auditioning snare drums and so on and so forth. So I've now got some rolling noises. Let's have a listen to that over here. Actually, there's some birds in the background as well. No harm in that, although, again, you probably wouldn't do it deliberately. So where does he start riding? It's about there. Yeah, that's okay. Again, this is an example of layering because we've got the wheels spinning there, which don't sound very realistic. But if I find this sound, I found, yeah, a little bit more. And what we'll do is we'll just drag that in there and just move this over. Okay. And perhaps now would be a good time to have a quick look at direct offline processing. It's very powerful. It will enable you to render effects and treatments like EQ, normalization, or time stretching directly onto any audio event. Now, the advantages of using direct offline processing from the Steinberg website: apply any kind of process offline for single or multiple selected events, with the feel of real-time events but without the CPU load, and that's the key for me. It allows you to keep your mix console clean, but at the same time pave the way for further non-destructive changes. There is a favorite section where you can store your frequently used effects with predefined parameter settings, either as single processes or as batch processes. You can load FX chain presets from the mix console and from track presets within the direct offline processing window, while it is also possible to add a tail to the end of selected events, providing a natural sounding decay when using effects like delay and reverb. There's some huge advantages to using direct offline processing. We're only going to use it a little bit today, but I just thought I should fill you in with a bit more of the info. It's fully reversible, can be applied automatically, can be assigned to key commands, can be applied to single or multiple events, can store chains as favorites in order to quickly apply to other audio parts later on. So you'll see that there's some huge advantages to getting to know direct offline processing. Right, let's carry on. So here's the direct offline processing dialog. I've selected this part, which as you can see is selected here. And what I'm thinking is I might just try reversing that, but let's just add a reverse. So that's now reversed. Let's have a listen. Yeah, actually works quite well. The point being that at any point later on in your project, you can come back and actually completely get rid of that processing. You can also save these things as presets. So that's a little bit about direct offline processing. Right, so the next thing I want to look at is some clothing sounds, and then we'll add some atmosphere and then we're done. Clothing sounds really useful because they will fill in those awkward sounding little gaps, especially if there's a scene where there's actually no effects as such. So I've got some cloth movement. Let's have a listen. Excellent. So I'm going to do same thing as before, just chop these out. One of the nice things here as well is to try and use different ones. So, you know, you're not just repeating the same piece of cloth movement. Otherwise, you'd be surprised how easy it is, you know, to recognize that it's the same sound being repeated. Of course, again, that's where your direct offline processing comes in, because you can randomize the pitch and do other clever things. Again, we'll save that for the future. Right, so here he comes. First thing, I want a little, that one there, just where he lifts his leg. Whoops. That's not bad, is it? The next thing would be some subtle ambience. Now, this is going to be way too loud, but I found a little clip which is kind of city traffic. So there's cars moving in the background. There's all sorts of weird things going on. Way too loud. In fact, actually, let's pull it down here. Yeah, there's a few elements there that could be better, I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So I think we're almost done there. I mean, the next thing would be to do a mix. You can automate all these things. So let's automate the movement of the bike itself as he rides away. So you can see my mixer down here. I'm just going to switch on riding away and tires. And we'll do the same thing beautiful. Yeah, so I noticed the wheel moving there at the beginning, which we don't have. Yeah, so we need to get that little bit. Let's take a bit from there. That's not bad at all. So let's just have a quick before and after. So here we are, everything's muted, and this is what we started with. Oh, you know, I've just realized there's something else I missed there. Okay, so I've added the mystery sound. Have a quick listen, and I'm sure you'll spot it. It's the bag there. You see where he's got little buckles on his bag and they're moving around. Now, they're actually plastic. They're not metal at all. But what I've done is I've added in some little metal jangly sounds just to coincide with where those little things actually hit his bag. And what I would do is take those right down in the mix. It was actually a dog's collar. That was the sound effect, was a dog's collar. There you go. Subtle. So here we go, before and after. I think that just about gets the message across. How simple was that to put together? This whole video, you know, was done quite quickly. Obviously, I'm going to edit some of the stuff out, but just showing you how, you know, as long as you've got access to the sounds, there's a ton of stuff available free. There's a ton of stuff available in Nuendo itself. And of course, if you've got a Soundly subscription, you've got it made. And just the way that we can move things around in sync with the video is absolutely beautiful. So just to finish off, I'm just going to add a little bit of orchestral music. I've got East West Opus here with the Hollywood Orchestrator, so I can literally just play. Actually, we probably want more of a hip-hoppy sounding thing here, but just to show you the finished result with a little bit of music. So I'm just going to record something random. All right. All right, so we'll just do a quick little edit on that music. Yeah, let's just play one last time, and we'll put the video into full screen. Well, what more can I say? I think we covered all the basic options there, which is really what was my intention to do today, was just to get through some of the basic stuff. So I hope you found this useful. Nuendo is super powerful, and we're just beginning to scratch the surface now for all the new users, especially those in the Middle East region. Thanks ever so much for tuning in and watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and hope it made sense to you. And if you've got any questions, you know the routine, just drop me a line down in the comments, give us a quick like, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks ever so much. Bye for now.